I think a lot of the reaction we saw very shortly after the interview with Lance, that Betsy Andrea, who is a wife of one of his former teammates, was saying that, you know, he's still lying and he's not basically confessing to everything. And I think when you watch the interview this morning, you know, we pretty much know all of it. If you've read Tyler Hamilton's book, you know, he certainly talks a lot about it. And I think he just admitted to the stuff that he had to admit to because the pressure on him was just too much at this point.
Why do you think now, of all the years that he could have come out and done this, he's taken people to court, he has apparently threatened people in the past, that hasn't been proven. Why do you think he's done it now? Why 2013?
Well, there's a variety of sort of conspiracy theories, but I think the most likely one is that because he's been banned from competition across everything from triathlons to cycling, I think he just, you know, he wants to clear his name. He wants to potentially get some sympathy, wants to maybe get his lifetime ban reversed and be able to compete again. You know, not necessarily as a cyclist, but, you know, in Ironman triathlon competitions, he was certainly favoured to do very well. So I think there is some motivation to that, but I also think the pressure of the investigation, the fact that there's so many people come out of it, it's difficult for him to keep on denying, and I think it's, you know, it had to come to a point. But it was very carefully orchestrated. He only admitted to the things that he had to, as I said, and you know, I think more will come from this, particularly when there's legal investigations into what he said.
I suppose one of the big questions a lot of people are going to be asking, I've no doubt your magazine will pick up on this as well, with questions being asked, why should we trust any professional cyclist in the world now? If he has denied this for years and years and years, and we only find out now, and he vehemently denied it, why should we trust any professional cyclist in the world?
Well, I think that's the whole point. There is a certain element of the interview today where you kind of feel a little bit, I hate to say this, but sorry for him, because in the early 90s and when he was racing at his best, you know, doping was very much part of the sport. If you look from 1996 to 2010, there was only one rider that hasn't been implicated in some sort of drug scandal in that time, and it was just part of the sport. Lance did it better than anybody. Certainly he was a kingpin in it, and he was a bully, as he admitted today. But, you know, the sport itself was dirty, and I think one of the things that people expected him to say was how complicit was the UCI, which is the international governing body, in this doping problem. He has denied that they were involved or even knew about his doping. But I think there is some responsibility on the side of the UCI as to what role they played in covering up stuff, because certainly Lance Armstrong was great for cycling.
And certainly what role the UCI, the International Cycling Union, the governing body of international cycling, needs to do next, because their credibility has taken a massive knock as well. How are they going to try and fix this and get people to trust not only them, but buy into the sport again? They've got a massive job on their hands.
An absolutely enormous job. I think the sport of cycling, professional cycling as it is taken a hammering over the last few years. But you know, if you look at all the experts, they're talking about how the Tour de France has been won the last couple of years. You know, a lot of the scientists that are looking at the performances of the riders are saying that the drugs issue is less of an issue now. Performances are a little bit down than when they were when Lance Armstrong and the guys like Markham Pantani were racing at their best. So I think, you know, it's hard to say, but I think the drugs war is being won slightly. And hopefully through something like Lance Armstrong coming out, knowing that even a guy like Lance can get caught, will hopefully put off riders who look at this as potentially something that they can do. So I think this is a step in the right direction. Obviously, how clean cycling is at the moment, nobody will know. But I certainly think it's cleaner than it was when Lance Armstrong was racing. Well,
Mike, calling you Mark, wrong person. Let me put this question to you. We're asking this on air today. I'd like your thoughts on this. Here is the question we're asking. Here it is. Should they just legalize performance-enhancing drugs in cycling and level the playing field? As briefly as you can, Mike.
No, I don't think that's an answer to it at all. I think those who don't want to do drugs and want to race without them deserve the best chance of being the best. I think if you legalize drugs, that's a crazy thought, and I don't think you could even possibly think about that.
All right, Mike, as always, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Getting up as early as us to watch that this morning on live streaming. Bicycling magazine editor Mike Finch speaking to us about Lance Armstrong's doping scandal. More on that magazine, no doubts, as this unravels over the next few months.